Oh boy, today is a good day. It's mock draft day, baby. But first, you have to click that subscribe button because 2,900 is right around the corner. You can make that happen. Less than 40 of you at the time of recording. Click that subscribe button. Click the bell so you can watch more than just the draft content. Like the video so more beautiful people can watch the draft stuff. And let's bloody get into it. No trades just yet, but more draft content and trades I expect to happen. What could happen, what particular clubs need to do with their 3 first-round picks is going to be talked about massively in a future video as well. But let's talk about the youngsters that are absolutely killing it. Let's go. Now, I don't remember if I said it in the last video or not, but Josh Smiley is my number 1 pick going to North. His size, he's averaging 27 disposals at under 18s level, doing good things for the Eastern Rangers and in the academy games as well, doing beautifully. Across the board is Big Josh, but the gap now is quite small. So, this is a really intriguing number 1 pick race. Will North trade the pick? Should they trade the pick? All of these things are going to get discussed at a later date, but when you've got a guy who's nearly 2 metres tall and a powerful midfield unit, with doubt over some of North's midfielders staying there long term anyway, at this point in time, he is the right choice. No doubt about it. Jagger Smith goes to Richmond at pick 2, had 50 touches on the weekend, 24 kicks, 26 handballs, 5-0. Battered, son. That's ridiculous, seriously. Another guy with decent leadership qualities as well, a good user of the pill, and let's be honest, when you can rack up 50 in a game, you're going beautifully. Only 2 blokes have had more disposals than that in an under-18s game. But Richmond have also got a connection with Jagger, who's trained with them throughout the year as well. So everything, it just works, okay? It just does. It's like a tiny bit of sugar in your pasta sauce if you've used tinned tomatoes. It balances beautifully and it just makes sense. Luke Traynor goes to West Coast at pick 3 here, and look, let's be honest, I watched him recently, the academy games, the highlights, all those things. I then went and watched what Jordan Ridley did for Essendon in the Dreamtime game and went, they're the same. Some people are going to see him as a key defender, as some people saw Jordan Ridley as a key defender. Jordan Ridley has had to play key defender in the past when guys like Laverde, Zach Reed either weren't there or weren't available. And Luke Traynor at West Coast wouldn't have to go through that at all. You've still got McGovern, you've got Barras, you've got these guys down there. He just fits beautifully. Which team in the comp wouldn't want a Ridley or a Sicily type, for crying out loud? Not too many of them, and West Coast would take one beautifully. Thank you very much. Sandringham Dragons to the West Coast Eagles goes Lukey boy here at the end of May. This kid could be genuinely anything, and I can't wait to see him progress throughout the rest of 2024 and to start his career. Finn O'Sullivan to the Saints next, and he needs to stop breaking shit. Not like a toddler around the house that's knocking over things, but he broke his thumb, and now he's broken a finger. Finn, stop it. Now, this could be the last month. He's going to be out for another 6 weeks, so is he going to be this high on talent? Absolutely. Could be a steal at 4. Based on talent. Based on 2024 result, though, you kind of got to ask a question or two, but fully fit, pick 4, whether it's the Saints or someone else, could genuinely be a steal in this draft. Don't get me wrong. But, yeah, this guy's got a lot of traits. He was dominant last year. It's a real shame we haven't had to see him, or we haven't yet seen him, I should say, at his very best. Fingers crossed we can do so soon. He is just electrifying when he gets the footy and could be a very good player for a very long time. Of course, in the right environment. Levi Ashcroft ends up at Brisbane via the Hawthorn bid, and they're going to have to pay up Brisbane. They've got a top 10 pick as it stands right now. Why not use it and some other assets? So pretty smart here by, look, it could be St Kilda, it could even be Richmond at this point. Hawthorn in this scenario. It's not because I'm a Hawthorn fan, just felt like a decent enough spot. So that's all well and good. Now, they say younger brothers are the best, and considering I've got an older brother, I'd like to tend to agree. But he and Will are going to inject quite a bit into this Brisbane midfield, and sure, riding off the lines this year looks smart. I am not willing to do that for 2025. Maybe to my detriment, we'll find out. But Levi is going to be a very good player, in my opinion, but still needs to progress this year. He is not the finished product yet, and that is not what I'm suggesting at all. But if you think I'm going to be potting 18-year-olds in May, you have clicked on the wrong video. And hit the scoreboard, works his tail off. They've got a good one up there in Brisbane. Another one. Hawthorn can continue the bidding system. Leonardo Lombard is going to be at the Suns with their first pick, giving up one, maybe both of their top 10 picks, but until we get full disclosure on what clubs are going to have to pay through the system, I'm running off the last system. So they only have to give up one of their top 10 picks at this point in time. Do the Suns. They do so here for a guy who does not need to be a starting midfielder, considering you've got Miller, Rao, Anderson, these guys. He can start at half forward. He and Bailey Humphrey on the half forward flanks are going to be a epic combo to start their careers. And don't forget, they've got Jake Rogers, who could shift himself onto a wing or that half forward if Bailey Humphrey gets more time throughout that midfield. And they continue Sam Flanders and Alex Sexton off those half-back flanks. He is going to be an awesome piece. He wants to take the ball forward. He's got some dare, he's got some dash, he's got some spunkiness about him. Could be something special here. The man affectionately known by no one else but me as Double L. Jack Whitlock ends up at the Hawks with pick 7, a key forward. Oh, but Daz, we've got Mitch Lewis, we've got Marbior Chol, we've got Cole Shadir. What are we doing using a top 10 pick on a key forward? First of all of you complained about Marbior for the first 10 weeks, which, by the way, was already stupid. And I know not all of you did, so, okay, don't generalise here. But Jack is 200 centimetres tall, an aerobic freak, could be a Jeremy Cameron style kind of operator here. I liken him a bit to Jai Miss, who needs that Josh Tracy big body there. Mitch Lewis and Marbior Chol with Jack Whitlock as a third-ish tall forward. Cole Shadir can play as a more athletic type as he can. This can work. You can't talk me out of this right now. And his brother's going beautifully as well, but I'm going to talk about him a little bit later on. The aerobic athlete and local boy Sid Draper ends up at the Crows in the May mock draft. Not because he's South Australian, although that does help, but not the reason he ends up here. Adelaide probably won't play him in the seniors early because there's something about Adelaide developing midfielders, Billy Dowling and Charlie Edwards, hello if you're watching, in that group. Now you might think, why would they take another midfielder at this point? Adelaide's list isn't really lost on a whole lot. Now, they could take a key defender here, a O'Farrell here, if they had some faith, or not some faith, if they liked what they've seen from Matt Whitlock, if they want to play him as a defender. Could make a little bit of sense. I think Adelaide just need to get fit and healthy in their back half, and if they need to, try and get someone a little bit more established as a depth piece rather than using Dan Curtin as a pick last year. Jury's still out on whether he's going to be a proper key defender as opposed to a very tall hybrid defender. Whereas if you do that again, you might be sacrificing some other pieces, but Sid Draper, best available talent, local lad, everything lines up for the Crows here. Harry O'Farrell goes to the Gold Coast Suns, who have got some key back depth, I know, but this guy plays back shoulder and could be anything at this point in time. Yes, you got Collins, you got Ballard, you've got Mac Andrew, I understand that, but like I said about a different team just a little bit ago, is that Gold Coast list isn't lacking a whole lot, and they can fill other holes later on in the draft. So getting an 18-year-old at this point in time in the draft with no trades, I do suspect, given the amount of academy talent they've got coming in 2025, they are going to want to get out of this pick. My high recommendation is Hawthorn, go after Gold Coast's 2 picks, or Richmond, go after those picks with future assets. Would be a really good thing to do. Imagine Richmond getting 1 or 2 of these first-round picks, keep pick 2 this year, and they end up with Jagger Smith, maybe an O'Farrell if they're a bit worried about Gibkiss moving forward. It would just be extraordinary, but he's a back-shoulder defender. He's got underrated pace and doesn't let his opponents beat him. Tick, tick, tick. No wonder he's one of Daz's favourites in this draft. Holy moly. Carlton match a bid here for Ben Camporeale, who had 27 touches for South Australia in the first game of the National Carnival. He's averaging 30 for Glenelg. It's going to be a really difficult midfield to crack into at Carlton, but seriously, when you've got a guy of this quality, why wouldn't you play him? And in 2 years' time, could we see him go past a George Hewitt, Matt Kennedy, these guys rolling through the midfield, competing with Jack Carroll for that third midfield spot at the Blues? Definitely, possibly. They're getting to Carlton. I've seen some Carlton fans go, yeah, but are they what we really need? Shut up. Yes, because they're that good and you get dibs on them. Take them, figure it out. Figure out the rest. They're a smart club. They can do that. Ben, very good. Sam Layla ends up at Freo here, who is just, I said it in the last one, I still think he's the most underrated of the midfield crop in this draft. He's a really good size compared to the top dogs. He's 187, 188 centimetres around that mark. But it's his defensive work at stoppage that I think is not only going to help Caleb Sarong, Hayden Young, I think it's really going to help an Andrew Brayshaw type who doesn't need to sacrifice his CBA attendances, which are already lower than previous seasons. He's going to be able to do that grunt work as he gets bigger, as he gets stronger. I think Matty Johnson and Nathan O'Driscoll and these guys out on the wings, Jeremy Sharp is out there as well. They're going to be operating just fine out there and doing their thing beautifully. This is a fit for mine that is just awesome. Get the defensive work done, get the grunt work done, can still punish you with ball in hand. Sam DeFrio is a pick that I really like a lot. Also find it funny how I say I like this pick a lot when I'm the one doing the mock draft. It would be pretty weird if I hated a pick in, May at this point in time. Anyway, Isaac Keiko goes to Freo here, who feels a need as an exciting small forward. He kicked 1 goal 5 last weekend, so maybe polish up those finishing skills. But hey, we've had forwards, big and small, not be able to kick straight in isolated games. So not that big of a deal. He's around to the contest, but he's also really good defensively. And I think Freo can sometimes really get punished on transition in their own forward half. They don't have a whole lot of pressure around there in their losses. Although, to be fair, we know how pedantic and boring they can be in their losses, but they are 5 wins and a draw when they've scored over 68 points this year. If they can add another weapon here, which they can do with Isaac, that would be top-notch for the Purple Haze. But let's be honest, are they going to use all 3 of these picks? Probably not. 2 or 3 of them are going to be up for trade, and there's 3 guys at Sydney I could see them targeting. 2 very hard, and 1 maybe underrated, but more on that in a later video. Job Shanahan is rocketing up some power rankings, which is cool to see. I've got him going to Geelong here at pick 13, 194 centimetres, beautiful set shot, but he's so good in the air. In a post-Hawkins, Jeremy Cameron world, they probably are going to go after a Ben King, someone like that down the road to fill that hole, but he can also play that hybrid third tall forward role, I should say. If you've got Shannon Neal, you've got that established forward there that they could get from another club. He would be an elite piece. They've got midfielders depth-wise, they've got them there. The talent, well, they've still got to wait and see on quite a few of them. Poor Jai Clark's going to get a 1-week suspension if they haven't accepted it already at the time of recording. And I reckon he played his best game at AFL level last week. Their defensive depth is okay-ish. They've been really poor the last couple of weeks, but Geelong are a really classy unit. They've got to have their eyes on the future. I have no doubt that they are, and I think this guy could be a really big part of it. And if you are still worried about midfield depth, it's a midfield-heavy draft. There'll be another one there at pick 33. But the Bendigo Pioneers forward, in the air, on the ground, dangerous, always inside 50. It's a good fit for mine. I've had people in my comment section, other comment sections, Twitter, nearly everywhere disagreeing on what Christian's last name is. So if anyone does remember, I will be sure to correct it at this point in time. But every time I think I know, Moraz, whatever it is, someone changes it. So I'm sticking with Christian just for now. This guy is an outside beast, hits the scoreboard, and considering he's got Tom Green in there already, his outside deficiencies, as these draft experts keep writing about with him, they evaporate at the Giants. And considering you need your inside bulls and your outside talent, think of Chad Warner, Isaac Heaney, who can win the ball at the coldface and get it to the outside, there is still a market for a guy who is so damaging on the outside of the contest, which is what this dude does for fun, averaging well over 24 disposals at under 18s level, and is forming one of a really great Eastern Rangers midfields, if that was even a coherent sentence. One of the best Eastern Rangers midfields, maybe of all time, without doing a whole lot of research on the Eastern Rangers history. Matt Whitlock ends up at Melbourne at this point. Now, what is his position? Because coming into this season, it was key defender. And then Jack went and played in the academy game. He kicked 5 as a forward. Could that be a flash in the pan? Of course it could. Kicked 1 the next week, and you might be thinking, okay, all right, he had a really good day, that's about it. Jack's coming back. He'll probably go down back. Nope, played forward with Jack in the team and kicked 5. So which one is it? I don't think Melbourne will mind, given they're probably going to need key back depth or key position player depth moving forward. We still haven't seen Matty Jefferson yet. Jacob Van Rooyen clearly needs help. Now, is that going to come from an 18-year-old? Who knows, but it's not going to bloody hurt at this part or this iteration of the mock draft, I don't think. Taj Houghton gets to Freo with their third pick. Has an ACL injury, unfortunately. He and Ollie just injury-ridden throughout their draft years, early parts of their careers, but he would be another forward weapon. He, Neil Erasmus, these guys, Isaac Keiko, who we had earlier on in this draft, Switkowski, Michael Frederick, would need to come up with a way to be a mosquito fleet forward of the ball. He can also go into the midfield, but I worry a little bit like Neil Erasmus, he's just not going to get that midfield time. I think Neil Erasmus is going to be a guy that other clubs chase hard at the end of the year and might be able to get him to maybe Victoria and maybe even a South Australian club. One of them who wear teal, I think, would be a great fit for what Neil Erasmus could do in his career, forward of the ball and forward of stoppage. But that's not what we're talking about here. Taj, related to Ollie, who is at St Kilda, loves hitting the scoreboard, getting around the centre bounce as well, but he wouldn't start his career as a midfielder, I don't think, and can still create some scoreboard impact, which no matter which club drafts him, everyone always wants a little bit more of. Lucas Camporeale ends up here with the matched bid. He's a classy wingman, which again is a position that Carlton don't really need, but he's a quality user and a quality kid from a couple of people in the know, so that's always good to know about him. Not saying his brother isn't, not at all, but he seems like a ripper, and we love what he can bring to the table. And again, Carlton will just figure it out. Somehow, somewhere, they don't really are lacking much on their list, so when you get a free hit like Lucas is, they got to take it, and they will. Good Glenelg boy as well, that doesn't hurt. Tyler Welsh ends up at Adelaide here from the Sandford team, kicked 3 goals in the first National Carnivals game against the Allies for South Australia. And look, he is going to be a lead-up forward type. I still think once Tex goes, they're going to need a big, strong forward. Fogarty on the lead is very good, and I think more athletic than maybe he's being used at the Crows currently, and Welsh will help that. But he needs to be played in the position that he is. He is a lead-up forward with great hands and a beautiful set-shot kick. Don't try and play him out of the goal square, wrestling with key defenders that have been in the league for a significant period of time, for crying out loud. Maybe the only side that he would be able to wrestle key defenders in and have a chance would be at his own football club, and that's because the poor buggers at the Crows keep getting injured, but he would be a really good fit and a high impact per possession player. All of his touches tend to lead towards scores or offensive chains to set up those opportunities, which is a very good thing. I was really interested to see Joe Berry's name pop up in ESPN's power rankings and did my own research, watched some games, especially last week against the Calder Cannons for the Bushrangers, and my God, he looked impressive. Took 8 marks, kicked 3 goals, 1, just knows where the goals are, and seemingly does the right thing with nearly every disposal. He averages around that early teens mark in terms of touches, but his score involvements and his scoring through the roof at the moment and could be exactly what a Bombers forward line need when the ball hits the ground. So one to watch for Bombers fans if you haven't seen a whole lot of him yet. Beau Allen ends up at Sydney here with 2 picks to go after this one, who would offer that positional versatility, the height, the dare, the dash. They could stash him away in the twos, get him to what Sydney need him to be, and then unleash him and we go, oh, Jesus, they've gotten another one. That's exactly what the Peel Thunder product looks like he is going to be able to produce, and it's stunning that at pick 20 in this iteration of the mock draft, our first Western Australian is off the board. Quite extraordinary, but a good decision maker, probably better suited to the ball coming to him on the half back line at this point in time rather than going in and winning it himself, but can be damaging by foot, underrated pace, got a couple of weapons. Sydney can work with that. Absolutely they can. Noah Miraz ends up at the Sydney Swans here, who I think had him in the last mock draft as well. Now, he's kind of fallen out of a lot of power rankings, articles and things like that. I just still think that Sydney need a tall defender. He is the best one still on the board, and Sydney are a good enough team to take a, if I can use an NFL term, reach in the draft, but he is a raw defensive unit. He's got a lot of weapons, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's a scrub that's moved up 40 or 50 spots, by no means. But his fit at the Swans here would be an extraordinarily good one. And again, they could stash him away, get him to work on his craft, and when he's ready, just unleash him on the competition. The Dandenong Stingrays boy ending up at the Swans is a really nice fit. And we finish with the Gold Coast Suns, who traded with North their compensation pick, as did Sydney, to end up with their second first round pick here. I've got them taking Malachi Champion from Subiaco, a small forward, another weapon they can use inside that forward 50, with Ben King and Jed Walter leading the near future. We'll see what happens with Ben King afterwards, and he still has the greatest name in this draft and can go up against Steely Green at Richmond for the best name in footy when his name gets called out. So that is May's version of the mock draft. Comment below, let me know what you think. Do you like your team's picks? Do you not like your team's picks? Did I miss anyone? Because there is a long list of guys that I missed in this video, and if you don't recognize the name Taj Stanley on there, highly recommend checking out what he is doing for Northern Territory at the moment. A massive shout out to Harry Watts, who has been on to me about getting a hold of Taj's highlight tapes. Been watching a lot of him recently. Really love what I see. I just don't think there are enough teams in the back end of this draft to take on any midfielders at this point in time. I think of guys like Xavier Lindsay, Harvey Langford, these guys. Tom Gross even, who is very high up on the power rankings, didn't make it in this mock draft because there is just such a breadth of midfield talent at the moment. You're going to be unlucky to miss out. But who knows, over the course of the next month or so, this mock draft is going to look very different. So I hope you enjoyed. Click the subscribe button, click the bell. I'm going to try something a little bit different. There is going to be a video out by the time you wake up on Friday morning if you're here in Australia. So I hope you enjoy that. Look after yourselves, guys, and I'll see you soon.